Hello my felting friends, welcome to this week's video. This is part 5 of the series on needle felting a painting for beginners. So this week we're going to concentrate on doing the gate, and I've left a little picture in the top so you get an idea of what I'm going to be doing. The whole video is about 50 minutes long, and I haven't edited too much out of doing this gate so that you can really see what I'm doing. So to start with, I'm just finding a base colour that I like, that I'm going to use as a wood colour to mark the gate in, and I'm going to use my ruler and my best attempt at getting a straight line with it. So because the uprights should always be upright, that's why I'm using the ruler. I don't want it really, if I can avoid it, going off at funny angles. So that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to use the ruler where I can and make the lines straight for this post. And I will use the ruler throughout for doing the gate to make sure the lines are straight and things. So as you can see, I've left you this picture up in the corner so that you can see, and if you'll note, I'm not using the same colours. I'm not worried, as long as I end up with a wood looking gate, I don't have to match those colours if I don't want to. It's not important. So I'm just going for what I like as a gate. And of course, if you didn't want to put the gate in this picture, you could put something else here, a rock or some flowers, someone walking, anything like that, another little tree. So just when you're using your ruler, just be a little careful, obviously, that you go slowly, because it is easy to break your needle on the ruler, but you should be fine if you take your time. Now I'm mixing a bit of the pewtery colour that I used on the mountain with a brown, and I'm just going to use that as a shadowy colour to come down the side of the gate. So here I'm basically following the picture as to where the light and the darks are going to go. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to avoid having the part I put on to form just a straight line. I want it to spread out and be thin, so I'm just putting it over so it's nice and thinly done. And then up this side I'm actually outlining it. I don't normally do it, but I'm outlining it in black, but you could mix some black and some brown together if you want, but I know a lot of this is going to be in shade in a bit, and it's going to have other bits with it, so I just want to make sure it stands out enough. So I say you certainly don't need to do it in black. You could mix your black and your brown together, but I wanted a nice dark colour there just for a minute. So now I'm back to the same yellow that I used in the field and the same colour that I've used for the gate post, and I'm just mixing those together so I have a lighter area. And all this is going to get laid on thinly. So now if you look at the gate post in the picture, the reference picture, it's quite a lot lighter at the top. So this is what I'm doing here. I'm adding that bit of extra light at the top of the picture, at the top of the gate post. So this is our same kind of yellowy colour, and I'm now mixing it with some of the green. What I want to do is lighten up the field a little bit behind the gate. You remember I said to you in the previous video we lightened up the other field because I needed that to stand out a bit with the trees and things, and I've decided that where my gate is, there's not enough lighter field around where the gate's going to go, so I'm lightening that up just a little bit. And in fact most of the bit on this side that I'm doing now you won't see because I'm going to have like a hedge there. But I don't know what's going to show and what isn't going to show, so I'm going to make sure I cover everywhere with it. But again, it's going on thinly. I'd like the bits underneath still to show through. And my way of working is I always like to make sure that I have got everything that I needed to do in the background done properly, irrelevant of whether later on I may or may not cover it up, because you don't really know what you're going to put where and what's going to show through it. You know, it could be like the branches of a tree. Well, you're going to see through those, so you want to make sure that your background looks correct. So that's why in all my pictures I always do, and I've probably said it before, certainly if you've watched any of my other videos, I always make sure that my background is as perfect as I can get it before I move to the next part of the picture that's coming forward, because that way it doesn't matter if I cover it up, that's fine, and if I don't and things are seen through whatever I've put in the front to the back, it's going to look good. So I never skimp on doing the background. So now these are just random colours that I've got grabbed, and I'm going to mix them all together. They're just varying shades of greens and yellows, as you can see. Because this is tops, this is quite handy. I can just pull it all and mix it all together. I don't want to mix it perfectly because this is going to be grass and things. I'm going to use this collection for quite a lot of things. So I just want to mix it so that I've got bits and pieces, different colours scattered through it like that. So that when I pull it apart, and I want to make grass out of it. You can do this with carded wool as well, it just won't be quite so long. So when I pull it apart, I've got different coloured grasses together like you'd have in real life. So I will have highlights and lowlights. So I'm going to hold on, I'm showing you why I'm going to mix that. I'm going to hold on. I'm lightening this bit up as well all around here. Because I'm using this roving and tops for this bit, it does sort of get everywhere. It's very fine and fluffy at times. But I say, don't be put off because you can do this with carded wool as well. So I've taken a bit of that wool that we just did, and I've pulled it and I've made it short. So, and if you look closer, you can see there's all different colours in it. And I'm doing this now because I want this little bit of grass to be behind the gate. So I'm just popping some of this in now so that I've got something the other side of the gate when I put it up. And when you do this quite often, you can have really fluffy edges at the top, so you'll see me grab scissors quite often and I will just trim the fluffy bits off at the top. Now what I'm doing here is I'm rolling it into thin little strands so that they will actually stand out a bit more against the soft fluffiness of the grass. So these are going to look more like stalks. And I like to do a few because I like to have the contrast in textures. And we will do this later on when we come to do in the last video of this painting, when we come to do the rest of the picture. But I say today is mainly about the gate and the hedge on this side. But this is an example of why make sure you've got your background before you put the next bit, because if I put the gate on and then I wanted this grass, it would be really difficult to do. I mean, it could be done, it would just look bit, especially because the grass is long, thin bits, you want them to follow through. So all you've got to do is build this up in different coloured greens. So whether that's greens that you've mixed yourself or greens like I've got where I just mix that pile, and all I'm doing is grabbing this out of that pile, so I'm going to have different colours. Even on the bits that I twirl there will be lights and darks. This is why I like to mix a big bit of that, because that way I've got plenty to play with. So I'm now going back down that side where we put the black earlier, and I've got a mixture of black and brown now, and I'm going back down that again because when I put the other colours in, it would have lost the line a little bit, so I just want to re-establish that line. Okay, you won't see a lot of it in a minute when I put the hedge in. So now if you look, we have another gate post, a little bit which is actually for the gate itself, and this is the bit I'm putting in now. I'm going to start working on putting the actual gate on now. So this is quite a dark brown. If you look in the picture, it's really dark in that little alcovey bit where the two gate parts meet. When you're doing this, do your best not to lose the uprightness of your gatepost. This is actually a bit of straight black because I want it really dark on that crease, so I'm just going down just that little area with the black line. So we're now back to mixing the same mixture together again because we're going to start building the actual gate itself now. And I personally didn't bother to match the colour of the gate in the picture, but you certainly can. So now if you look at the gatepost we're working on now, the shadow part of it is quite thin and the lighter part of it is quite wide. So we need to make sure that we end up with a narrower shadowy bit and a wider lighter bit. And if you learn to do this and you have a go at this, it means that in the future, I'm talking about the gate now, you can put fences in anywhere you like, because although this is a gate, you could equally do this. I could have a whole fence across my picture, because once you've worked out how to do it, you've got all sorts of ideas. It's the same thing as once you master how to do walls, you can put walls anywhere. So although this is just a gate, you can use the same thing, as I say, later on if you wanted to put fences in your pictures. And obviously they don't have to be this close to you. But every little skill you can learn and every little thing you can have a go at is another thing in your toolbox. So if you see now, I've got a narrow, darker strip and a lighter main part of that gate post there. And I am still going around them in just a dark blacky brown. It's not black now, I don't want to use black now. So now we've done this bit, I'm going to work on the hedgy bit that's next to the gate post. So I'm mixing the dark green with some black here because I want a shadowy greeny colour. Because ultimately I've decided that my sun is going to be coming from the left hand side, which won't affect most of the picture, but it will affect the close-up bit, so we're going to have some shadows and when we put the shadow of the gate in. But we won't do that till the last in this section on doing this picture. Because we'll do all the shadow and any other little extra bits and things in the last video. So again, I've taken that pile that we made earlier of the greens and I'm just adding some back over onto this because you would have shade on this bit and it's more realistic if you have some shade between the blades of grass. And what I'm doing is I'm making sure that I don't just have a block of shade there. If I just put a dark colour and that left it, it wouldn't look so nice as the fact that I'm going to go over it with little bits, not tons, but little bits of the lighter colour, just breaking it up a bit. So now we're carrying that same shade colour on around the gate post here. Because this is still going to have some grass here. This is what this is the shadow of the grass. Now just trimming off the very fluffy ends. And did you see? So I've pulled it upright, trimmed off the ends, and I'm laying it as if the grass is growing up now. So I'm going to have some shadowy upright bits. I don't need a lot, just need little hints of it. And now at this point I'm going to start blocking in the hedge that's on this side. So again, I'm using my dark colour. I want my darkest colour first. Minus the extras. So on this side, just decide where you want your hedge to go and then just block in your dark bit. And because it's a wild hedge, I don't want it straight across at the top like a manicured hedge would have. So now what I've done is the same pile of greens I've got. I'm just at the moment I'm picking out some darker greens out of it, and I'm starting to make sort of blobs, coloured blobs all over the hedge. I don't go too much down the bottom of the hedge where it meets the ground. I use the darker greens, and nearer the top of the hedge I'm picking out lighter greens, and I'm not making every single leaf on the hedge. I'm just giving hints of leaves here and there. So I want patches of lighter and darker colours, and obviously keep the light colours to the top of the hedge and the darker muted colours at the bottom, because as you get down the hedge it's more just shapes rather than colours. But I hope you'll see that in a minute. Can you see I've actually put blobs down the bottom of the hedge, but you can hardly, they don't stand out, but they are there. So if you look through bits that you put later, you will have this impression of leaves. It's just not going to be bright, like I said. So if you keep your brighter ones near the top. And they're not any particular shape, I just grab bits off that pile we made and pop them on. And what I did here as well was I picked that camo colour we used earlier. I picked some of those because again I didn't want it really, really bright, so I picked some of that, and I'm just putting a few of those just to break up the actual green on the top as well. So we just have a few little hints of something a little different in colour. And see if you can make, when you do it, try and make it so that you see a little bit of the dark around each patch you put on. That's why it's easier to put your dark down first, and that's why with my trees I put the dark down first and then I work up to the light colours. So again, if you look there you can see the texture at the bottom rather than the colour. And don't forget to take a few over your gatepost. It's an unruly country hedge and it's spreading everywhere, so it would go in front of your gatepost as well. And then we're going to be back to exactly the same thing we've done before, and that's roll some of those colours, pick any of the colours, just grab a little bits off your pile that you made and start making stalks like this. And it's entirely up to you how many stalk things you put in, where you put them. These are just guides, as I say, when I'm doing this. You could make this entire patch where my hand is into greenery and stalks and poppies if you wanted to. You wouldn't have to leave it like I've done. So, you know, you do have some scope to play. So I just pinned the end down and then I roll it. Don't have them going straight up and down. If you can, have some crossing each other, some bending. See, at this point as well, if you'd got this bit done but you didn't feel like tackling the gate itself, you could technically leave it like that and just leave it as if the gate's gone, or it's just the end of a fence on a field or something. But I do suggest having a go at the gate when we get to the rest of it. And make sure obviously with all this picture that as you go along you felt it down well. So I've just got some red dots that I'm putting in for some poppies or some red flowers. If you've got other colours or you fancy different ones, pop whatever colours you like, you know, flower colours down. I wouldn't pick like 10 different colours. I would pick two or three different colours if you're going to mix it up, and then just pop down as many as you want where you want. I'm just sticking to the reds because it's a nice, I like it, it's a nice pop of colour. But I could certainly have put a few yellows in. But because our picture is very green and that, the red really does stand out. So you could have put in some blue actually, blue would be quite nice as well. And then I decided they are poppies, so I'm just putting in little black centres to some of them. Again, I'm not doing all of them, just some of them. So we're back to building grass again now. And we're going to lay this in front like this, because that way we've got a bit more texture on the foreground and we cover up the bases of those stalks. And I'm just varying the colour a little bit, so it's not, you don't want it all the same all the time. It's nice to have little pops of other colour in it. Now at this point I'm putting, because we've put the basic colour in of the path, I've now got a lighter beige colour, a creamy beige, and I'm now putting that all down the path. I want to start to put some texture in the path. There's lots that you could do to this path, but I'm going to keep it fairly simple for this picture. We can always, if people are interested, we can always revisit the picture at a later date and, you know, take it up to the next kind of level. But there's no point in me giving you it really complex, because it'll put you off, and I don't want you put off. And even without all the extra complex bits, you end up with a nice picture. So I'm lightening this path up. Now, I didn't do it till later, but because of the foxy brown colour I've got, I could have lightened this path up more. And in the final video of doing this particular picture, I go back and do that. And it's a little awkward because I had to do it between the gate posts. So if you've got a colour something like mine, then I would lighten it up a bit more. You still want to see that browny colour through it, but I would definitely bring it up lighter. And if you see, I did put a brown line along the edge of the path, and ignore that because that's coming off. Because I hadn't appreciated until I went to put the other gate post on the other side of the gate that the path wasn't big enough. So I needed to do a little bit of adjustment for that. So I've decided where my other one is going, and I'm now, with my ruler not straight, I hope you all know that my idea of straight isn't. I do go rectify it, I promise. But I'm now doing the upright for the other side of the gate. The main thing I do with the ruler is I like the ruler, one, because it's supposed to help me get things up straight, but it also, because I'm needle felting up against a hard surface, I get a nice neat line. And I don't know whether that's just me being lazy, but I do like the sharp line you get when you do it against the ruler, which is why I like using it on horizons as well. So if you look, you can see that the path colour and the gate colour are a little too close together, and which is why later on I needed to go and lift that colour up of the path, because the gate was blending a little too much for my liking into the path itself. So when I'd finished this part of the picture, the gate I mean, and things, what I did and what I suggest, and I keep telling people to do it because to me it's important, is I went and pinned this up in my work area. Just a pin, I just stuck it in the wall, and I pinned it up and I looked at it for a while because I needed to see if it looked all right, because when you're working on it like this, you don't see the things that aren't quite right because you're so up close and concentrating. And it's always a good idea to put your picture, before you think you finished it, up somewhere and just even, take a day, take half a day and just glance at it every so often and see what you can see that's not right. You'll see bits you think, wow, I did that. And then you'll see other bits and think, I need to change that. So that's my biggest tip really, is always, before you finish your picture completely, pin it up, look at it, and you will see things that need altering. I'd be really surprised if you look at your picture after a couple of hours and think, that's perfect. I've never done that, ever. I can always see things that I need to just go back in and tweak a bit. So I'm doing exactly the same thing for that gate post as I did for the other one. And at this point I've realised that I don't want the gate blocking my way into the picture. So I needed to make the path so it would go round the gate, because otherwise you get to the gate once it's up and it's in place and you can't go anywhere. And I don't want that. So this is why I'm widening my path out. I just want enough that it looks like you can walk around it. It's not, opened or shut completely. This is completely my fault because I should have thought about that before this step. I should have seen it. So I'm basically doing the same thing. I'm just putting some of that lighter colour on the path as well. Just breaking up the brown a bit. But I can honestly tell you that I have never done a picture, painting or needle felting, that I haven't had to go back and sort out a bit in all my time of painting these, because either I'm a bit dim and I just don't see things. I'm not sure what it is, but I always have to go back, and it can be really tiny things like I don't like the way shadows falling, or I need an extra branch on a tree. It can be simple things like that. It doesn't have to be really like moving the path. But I am very picky, it's true, and I have yet to do a picture. Even now when I've got pictures I really like, I finish them and I really like them. I have one up on my wall of a farmyard scene with chickens and things. It's a great big picture, it took me ages. And I loved it when I'd finished it. I love it now, but I still see things that I itch to go in and just fiddle with. So if you have that thing, don't worry about it. That you're not alone. But I am a perfectionist, I must admit. So we're going to now build the side parts in exactly the same way we did the uprights, or the cross beams, aren't they? I don't know. So we just need to remember that we've got to fit 4 on here. So just keep going back to your reference picture. I mean, you don't have, like I say, I've got a little reference picture up there for you for the gate. But if you have another gate you want to use as a reference picture, you don't have to use mine at all. Or something else you want to put in here, like I say, like a rock or something. Find yourself a reference picture and put that in instead. So this is the same beige I've just used on the path and that I used on some of the gate before, and I'm just going along the top lines of each panel now, each plank, so that it's catching the light. Because if you look in your picture at the top there in the corner, it has these little light lines going across, and so that's what the bit I'm doing at the moment. And I noticed as well as I was doing it that I hadn't quite got this post up high enough. It needed to be a little bit taller, which is what I'm doing now. I'm just taking it up just a tiny bit. So I put this one in, and I decided not to put the other one in because I couldn't see the point of it. So that's why we only had the one. But if you want to put the other cross one in as well, you can do. Now you can see why it was better to put that grass in behind it first. And for the planks that go across, I'm not so worried about them being perfectly straight lines, because I figured it's a bit more rustic if they're not perfect. So I use my ruler more just to make sure they're going in the direction I want them to, but not so much for the fact that I want the perfect lines on these. So if you look in the picture of your reference picture at the top there, it's a bit darker underneath that plank, and this is what I'm going for now. I'm just starting to darken down, because ultimately this is going to be the shady side anyway. But I just wanted to start to darken that down, so where you would have the shadow that the plank above it is casting. So again, we're back to that little line that we're going to put down the thing where the sunlight catches on the edge. So I found the best way to space my planks out was to do the top and bottom one first, and then I worked out it didn't have to be perfect, but I worked out then where I was going to put the two middle ones. But it was easier for me to do it by doing the top and bottom one, because I knew for sure that if I just worked down the gate I would end up with different size gaps, which I was making sure I didn't want to have. I'm just making sure I don't go beyond the gate post with that bit. So just make sure you keep the shadows and things, because that's obviously once they cross all that, you want to be able to see one over the other. So we're just keeping an eye on our reference picture and popping in the shade where it needs to go. And again, I'm just using my blacky brown colour, and I'm just doing a thin line under each of the planks. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this bit with the gate, and you have a go at it, definitely. Any questions, leave them in the comments box below and I will get back to you. If you've enjoyed it, please don't forget to give me a like, and I look forward to seeing you on the next section, where we're going to do the bits on the right hand side and any finishing touches to this particular picture. So I'll see you then. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.